Mama Gyana-timirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-mritanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dandavat pranams to all the assembled Vaishnavas and seer seekers. And I'm in South India at the moment. Just arrived from Japan. We had very beautiful programs there by the grace of Srila Gurudev Mahaprabhu. And we're in this month of Kartik, right? Which is very, very special, very sacred time. And there are, many different points of significance around this month. But for us, the most important aspect is that it is the month of Shrimati Radharani, right? It is associated with her divine grace. And so this is a special month where we can aspire for her grace and try to put more attention to our spiritual practice. Radha Dasyam, right? The service of Srimati Radharani. This is ultimately the highest aspiration of our gurus within this lineage. So we're just at the end, right? There's just a few more days, I think till the 5th. A few more days, and we're singing special songs during this month. So it is a very sacred time in our calendar. I have some questions which have been sent in over the last few weeks, which I was thinking to address. But if anyone here has something they'd like to bring up first, then I'd be happy to go through that. It's been a while since we've had a meeting. Well, not too long. Since we had a Q&A at least, we had a few off the cuff for some of the festival days, but it's our first Q&A for a while, interactive session. So happy to meet with you all. Okay, well, if no one has anything pressing, then I have a nice one that Robert, he's a friend in England. He sent a couple questions in actually. And this is a nice question. It brings up, it's very relevant for many. And some nuanced points here to consider. So the question is, we have oh, we're happy, Midori Leela, that you could make it. I actually felt bad because I know our last few meeting times were not good for you at all. Actually, Japan was very difficult because I wanted to do more meetings, but every time I sat down to try and calculate all the time differences, I just would get stuck. I just got so confused because it's like over 2 different days, and there wasn't any time that was good for everyone. And so I just got stuck. And I think we only did one in the end. And then we did another one the other day for Govardhan Puja, but I know none of them were good for you, Madhuri. I was thinking of you, but anyhow, now I'm in India. It's a bit easier with all the time zones. So I'm glad you could make it too. Okay, you were busy anyway. Okay, that makes me feel better. So this is a question that came from our friend Robert in England. I read somewhere that there is no connection with Krishna until you take initiation. So is there any point in chanting until you take initiation? Many thanks, Robert. Yeah, it's a very nice question because you hear both things, right? We hear that Krishna is fully present in his name, right? And that we always have direct connection with Krishna through his holy name. But then we also hear that it doesn't count unless you've received initiation. So then how do we harmonize these two things, right? And I like very much the way was it Srila Govinda Maharaj or was it Srila Sridhar Maharaj? I can't remember now. Or both of them, actually, in different ways, they both mention this point. But drawing upon both of their teachings, what I've understood is that the first, actually, no, this is specifically a lecture of Srila Govinda Maharaj, and I'm remembering right now, that the first connection is always with Krishna. It was a very nice lecture he gave in Sokel, I believe, where he talked about this point. saying that the first connection is always with Krishna. And I remember I was very surprised when I first hear that, because generally we always hear it's Guru, right? But Gurudev, he made this interesting point that actually the first connection is with Krishna. But then what does Krishna do when you make that connection? He guides you to your guru, right? And Gurudev mentioned the example of Dhruva Maharaj, right? Some of you will remember the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, very young boy saint mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Right, he goes to the forest, he's around 5 or 6 years old, in order to, he's upset because he's neglected by his father. It all starts out of like a not so consequential family, conflict. But at the end, it turns into a matter of pure devotion, right? There's the shift that takes place. But anyhow, when he first goes to the, okay, we're back. I'm sorry, I meant to warn everyone, their internet here is a problem. Can you hear me? Or I can't see anybody anymore. Okay, Midori Liz. Yeah, this is going to be a problem, actually, the internet. So Dhruva Maharaj, right? When he hears that the only way he can make real advancement is by getting Vishnu's help, right? And so he goes to the forest, begins this meditation, and extreme austerity eventually attracts the Lord's attention. But we hear, right, when Dhruva Maharaj begins his prayer and austerity and so on, and Lord Vishnu notices him, first he sends Narada Muni, right? And he sends Narada Muni like as the point of connection. And Narada, oh, we're not connected to mine. Okay. We're connected to some, I don't know what we're connected to. Oh, 2 people are in the waiting room. Admit. Okay, I think, yeah, we're connected to Modo. I think we're connected to the right thing. Okay. Well, the bars have gone down. Oh dear. The internet's really playing up. Oh dear. Let's hope it holds out. So Dhruva Maharaj, right? He's in the forest. Lord Vishnu first sends Narada Muni as the first point of contact. And Narada Muni gives him an initiation. I believe he initiates him into the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, as I recall. And then it is after that that Lord Vishnu comes to him, right? So this is the protocol, right? It is the Lord's way of making the connection deeper, right? That you're approaching him through his devotee. That means you're serious. That means you want a deeper connection. And that whole connection of initiation, that there's so many things that are part of that, right? It shows humility, right? That not that I'm going directly to the Lord, but I'm going through his devotee, through his agent, right? Through his superior Vaishnava, and all these things. Shows a mood of surrender. You think Facebook will be better?
Maybe.
Okay. I'm just seeing if I can go in through my phone in connection might be better. Maybe I'll make Nazar, I'll make you a co-host, and then I'm gonna drop out, and I'm gonna try and go in through my phone. That might be better. Okay, so Nazar is now a co-host, and or maybe I'll just make you the host. Make host. Change host. Sorry, everyone having internet problems. Okay, now I'm going to exit. Okay. There's also one famous verse in, it's somewhere in the scriptures, but it's quoted sometimes by our gurus. Shamak Shavalam Prapadye, Shamalam Shavalak Prapadye, something like that. Literally, it means by the grace of black, we surrender to white. By the grace of white, we surrender to black. That's the literal meaning. But that black, as we understand, means Krishna, right? One name of Krishna is Sham or Shama Sundar, right? That Sham is this beautiful dark color. So it means, and then that white, according to our interpretation, refers to Radharani, or in a broader sense, Guru, right? Because Radharani is the highest Guru. So in other words, so what is that saying? That by the grace of Krishna, we get Guru, and then by the grace of Guru, we get Krishna. So the first connection is with Krishna, then Krishna gives us connection with Guru, and then through Guru, our connection with Krishna becomes deeper, right? And so what does this tell us, right? That yes, there's always a connection with Krishna, that are even without initiation, there is definitely a connection with Krishna there. There's something real in that chanting and that connection. But it becomes deeper if we take when we take initiation in the proper way, right? With the proper mood and with the proper agent, the proper connection. Then we have the potential, we can also say, to deepen our relationship with Krishna. So beginning, middle, and end, there's always some potency, some connection with Krishna. And then it can also be more complicated, right? Like for persons who may want to have a connection, but they cannot find the connection that resonates with their heart, right? That can be very tricky. And one example I remember sometimes in regards to this is we hear this one occasion, some ISKCON devotees, they mentioned the case of one, he was some American, like famous American sportsman, I believe a tennis player. And he had met Srila Prabhupada, he loved Srila Prabhupada, he was chanting 16 rounds every day or something like that. He had an altar with a little murti of Srila Prabhupada in his home, very devout. But he never got around to taking initiation. Then Srila Prabhupada left the world, and he didn't feel that he lamented, oh, I missed my chance, and he didn't feel he could take from any of the persons who Prabhupada had indicated as being in a position to act as guru, right? 11 or 12, whatever number it was. He didn't, because he felt this deep connection with Prabhupada, he didn't feel he could take from anyone else. And so there's a recording of some devotees asking Srila Sridhar Maharaj about this, what will be his fate? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very, as he often is, he was very broad and accommodating in his response. And he said, the compensation will come in the future, right? He didn't say, it has to be forced, he has to take initiation, there's no other way, he has to make the connection. But he was very broad, right? Krishna knows his heart, right? Krishna knows his heart, and maybe it won't be this lifetime, maybe it will be another lifetime, right? But the sincerity is there, the sincere aspiration is there, I mean, think about it. Just to have the desire to take shelter of Guru, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. There's one comment of Srila Saraswati Thakur where he says, anyone with a Western education will struggle very much, to take shelter of Guru, right? Because the whole Western, humanistic style of education, the culture, society, it's all centered around this, spirit of independence, right? It's in all the slogans, all the marketing, education, social media, everywhere, right? It's all pushing this spirit of independence, right? And so to move away from that, to come to a point of feeling, oh, I want to put my head at the feet, I want to take full shelter, give my heart, everything to this soul, that's a huge step to take, right? So if we think of things in a broader way, that's already a huge amount of progress, right? To feel that sincerely, oh, I want to take initiation, I'm just waiting to find the right connection. So that is that is something to be considered. So I think that's everything I have to say in regards to that question. There was another question about how important it is. This is another very relevant topic always. How important it is to be aware of social media, or sorry, the news. That was the question. How important is to be how important it is to be aware of what's going on in the world. And this, there's not a straightforward answer to this. We hear that in the Gaudiya maths. I've heard, I don't know if it was strictly in Saraswati Thakur's math, but I've heard that in the maths of some of his disciples. But I believe it was something Saraswati Thakur might have started, because our Gurudev also mentioned in our math, he didn't say, I don't think he said it was a rule, but he said, Guru Maharaj would read the newspaper, but he wouldn't. Like the general brahmacharis, they wouldn't generally read the newspaper, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj would, and I've also heard Gurudev mention in the mat of one of his godbrothers, it was one of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's godbrothers, it was a strict rule that no one would read the newspaper. Only I think it was Madhav Maharaj's mat. Madhav Maharaj, he was one of the very great godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and very powerful preacher, opened many mats. But he would read the newspaper, but it was, or perhaps even he wouldn't read the newspaper. Because there's one story that we've heard that once, I believe it was Madhav Maharaj, he came with a group of his disciples to visit Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj had a newspaper nearby that he'd been reading. And all the brahmacharis that accompanied Madhav Maharaj, they were shocked, because in their mat, it was the rule that nobody would read the newspaper. Probably Madhav Maharaj did, but it was the rule, and his strict rule, no one else would read the newspaper. And so they were all shocked when they saw the Srila Sridhar Maharaj, this great Vaishnava, reading. And Madhav Maharaj explained to them, said, when he reads the newspaper, it's like reading Veda. It's like reading the scripture, he's not just reading the news in an ordinary way, right? So that is one perspective, right? But on the other hand, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he has directly said, that if we are going to preach Krishna consciousness, that we need to read the news, right? We need to be aware of current events. We need to know what's going on. And he said, otherwise, our preaching will be lacking in a dynamic element, right? It's disconnected from the world around us, right? So he actually recommended that the preachers, they should read the newspaper. It is good for them. So I feel that we can take something from both of these angles of vision, right? That and I think it also depends on our individual circumstances. And I think for most of us, like in the circles that we mix in, we're going to look really strange if we don't know, about the conflict going on between Israel and Palestine. We're going to look very strange. It's one thing, if we're living in an ashram in the remote countryside of West Bengal, and we have the privilege, you could say, of just really absorbing ourselves and our seva in the teachings of eternity, right? That's one thing, right? But if we're in the world, we're living in the world, we're mixing with the world, we need to be aware of what's going on. We're part of our environment. We want to have some sympathy for what others are going through, right? So I would say for most of us, it's helpful that we have some awareness. But then, of course, there is the sweet spot, right? We don't want to get overly sucked in to all of all of these issues and all of these events going on around the world. It's, you know, of course, we are sad and sorrowful for all the troubles that are going on, and we may give some support here and there, you know, if it's appropriate into our capacity. But we do have to keep that bigger perspective, right? That ultimately, you know, we are living in the current of eternity, right? And ultimately, this whole solar system is going to disappear, right? Everything is going to disappear. So what is the most valuable thing that we can do with our time? What's the greatest relief work, actually, to help to spread the news of our true self, right? That is also an urgent need, right? If we are really awake to what's our true necessity, we'll feel there's some urgency in that, right? That one famous expression of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it was that he said, I only recognize one famine in this world. That is the famine of Harikatha, right? Talks about the Lord, talks about eternity, eternal truth, absolute truth. That is the only lack, the only famine in this world. And there's that famous expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, right, when he was asked, oh, what about World War III? We hear that World War III may be coming. And he said, that is a point on a line within a plane within a solid. And, you know, so many universes will come and go, right? But we must try to live within eternal time, right? And we must start to prepare ourselves for our eternal life. Right? So of course we can't imitate Srila Sridhar Maharaj, we can't pretend to be at that. He's saying that like with full earnestness and full vision, right? And I'm just parroting those words, you know, but that's Srila Sridhar Maharaj's actual consciousness, right? So, but you know, we want to keep that in mind, right? That's an important reference point, you know. And so we are aware of what's going on. We have some sympathy, but we also keep some detachment, right? And try to keep the bigger picture in mind. That would be those would be my thoughts on that. See everybody. Okay, here we go. Seeing everyone here. Does anyone want to add any thoughts, comments, questions to the discussion? Okay, here we go. Oh, we had a few others join us. Rishabhanari Das is with us. Robert made it. Great, Robert. You're here. We covered your first question already. It'll be in a recording, which I'll share with you later. Jagannath Priya has also joined us. We have an Ananta with us. Not sure which Ananta, but welcome. Mm-hmm. Ananta Shesh, that's right, Ananta Shesh, who was Axel. Great to have you with us, Ananta Shesh. Maybe it's Ananta Shesh. Well, let's see. I did have another question. Let me see my notes here. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong place. So the question about initiation, question about reading the news, and I had another question that came, but it was about an article of Sridhar Maharaj. We could go through it. He was asked to explain some Ramananda Brew, an article of Sridhar. Sorry, I'm on this little phone here. Okay, well, I can't see everyone at once here, but if anyone, please open your mic and if you would like to say anything. Okay, everyone's quiet. Okay, then I will go through this. It's a very nice article. It was something that someone posted on Facebook from a talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Some of you may have seen it. And The title was Education Must Be Vedic. So I'm going to read through this. The prejudice of our past experience, caught within us in a subtle form, has covered like dust the eye of our soul. Wow. The prejudice of our past experience, caught within us in a subtle form, has covered like dust the eye of our soul. Our inner vision is densely covered with the dust of many different misconceptions of separate interest, causing us to ignore the universal interest. So this reminds me of one place where Srila Sridhar Maharshi said, he gives this wonderful explanation of what is the ahankar, the false ego. He says the ego, the false ego, is like a machine that is receiving and transmitting false information. Receiving and transmitting false information, right? It's a, you know, you can say like the vision we have that's based on our false ego, it's a projection on the environment, right? It's a projection. It's not actually reflecting the reality, right? You could say it's perhaps kind of like a weather report that's completely wrong. I'm sure we've all experienced that. I experience it every other day. The weather report, completely wrong. You know, the weather, you look at the weather report, it's saying, oh, it's going to be storming and rainy in the next hour. You look out, it's a bright, shiny day, right? So maybe something like that. So their instruments are, you know, can't properly predict, right, what's actually going to happen. The weather is independent, right? So in the same way, there is a true reality. There's a nice expression in the second verse of, no, is it this? Yeah, it's the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vastava Vastu means the real reality, right? The true reality. So this is the absolute truth, right? There's the absolute truth, there's the relative truth, the temporary truth, the eternal truth, right? And so there is reality as it is, right? The actual current of things, right? The actual nature of things. And then there's how we perceive it through these filters, or what we're projecting through our false understanding upon the environment, right? We're all, based on these different layers of ego, we're all seeing and interpreting in so many different concocted ways. But having come to this path, beginning our spiritual journey, we're trying to uncover, it's a brave thing to do, actually. What is the actual nature of reality? This is Sambandha Gyan, right? This is what is called Sambandha Gyan. Having an actual understanding of the actual nature of things, right? Who am I actually? What's my real position within this environment? Oh, I'm not the center of the universe. Okay, take note of that one. What's the actual goal? What's the supreme being? What's my relationship with that supreme being? We're learning and unlearning, right? That's the hard part. We're unlearning. We're not just learning, but we're unlearning, right? Okay, I'll go back to this text here. This mental cover is made up of the prejudices of local and provincial interest, and it keeps us from seeing reality. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj quotes this expression. I believe it's a Bengali expression. I don't know if you find it in any scripture. Vishaya dulite kemone se para tattva paye dekite. Yeah, this is, I think, like simple, sweet Bengali. It's saying, Vishaya, this duli is dust. Vishaya is referring to materialism. So it's saying, if the dust of materialism is covering our eyes, then how will we see that paratattva, that supreme truth, right? Like, then this reminds us, this is reminiscent of Mahaprabhu's first verse of the Shikshashtakam, right? Cheto Darpana Marjanam, right? The mirror of our heart, the mirror of our consciousness is covered in this thick dust of material consciousness. And so we cannot see our own self, what to speak of the absolute truth, the absolute being, supreme truth. So going back to this text, how will a person be able to read the universal wave when his mind is fully engrossed with local interest of different kinds? How can one detect the universal interest, the universal wave? Only one who has fully eliminated all kinds of local interest and is eager to understand the universal wave can see it clearly. And then Srila Sri Maharaj is quoting this line from the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Arteshra Vigya Swarat. And this is an interesting line, a curious line in this first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it means that it's speaking about the Lord, that he knows artha means the meaning, abhigya, that he knows perfectly the meaning, the purpose behind everything, why everything is taking place. Or Srila Sridhar says in one place, why the grass is moving this way and not that way, right? Arteshva Vigya, he knows. There's a purpose, there's a meaning, there is rhyme, there is reason behind everything. He knows it. But then what is the next word here? Swadat. This word swadat means independent. So it's a very wonderful combination saying, and this is where surrender comes in, right? It's saying he knows the reason behind everything, the purpose behind every movement, but he's also independent. What does that indicate? He doesn't have to explain to you, right? He doesn't have to explain to you. And, the environment is not subject to our whim, but it is subject to his will. Right. But he also doesn't need to come and give us an explanation, of why this happened. Oh, I'm so sorry, you had to go through that. Let me explain to you, last lifetime, this happened and I'm so sorry. He doesn't need to do that, right? He is independent. So this is where the culture of surrender comes in, right? It's not just that he's a cold, independent, divine being, but he's inviting the spirit of surrender, right? That I believe in you, I trust you, right? Like sometimes in our own small way, we may have experiences, like for example, with children. Children may not be able to understand sometimes the instructions that are given to them. And the parent will just say, my darling, just trust me. I've lived in this world, 30, 40 years longer than you. Just believe in me. I love you. You know that I love you, right? Then you can believe in that what I'm doing is the best for you, right? So this phrase, Arteshra Vigya Swarat, it should not lead us to the conclusion that Krishna doesn't care, that Krishna is a cold-hearted autocrat dictator, right? There's that line, right, in Search for Sri Krishna, Reality, the Beautiful. What is it? Autocrat, despot, liar. Can we digest that this is Krishna's nature? He's an autocrat. He's a despot. He's a liar. He is all those things, but there's also some reason behind that, right? Why is he a liar sometimes? Because we can't always handle the truth. We're not ready for the truth. So he's giving it to us in stages, right? So we can slowly swallow it, gradually develop. But then also another element here is this whole culture of surrender and love, right? That no matter what you do to me, I know it is for my good. I know there's some reason behind it, and I trust you and I love you. So there's this wonderful beauty and sweetness and love that comes out of this relationship with the Lord. There's one very nice expression of Srila Govinda Maharaj. It's recorded in Revealed Truth, where he says, Krishna and I believe he's quoting some verses from Gita or referring to some verses in Gita, which I cannot remember now. But the expression he uses is very nice. He says, Krishna is very near and dear to us as the enjoyer of this world, something like that. But what he meant is that, you know, when we embrace this relationship, right, that Krishna is our beloved Lord and Master, that everything is for him, right? Not that everything is for us, but that everything is for him, right? When we embrace that, right? When we make everything that we do an offering for him, rather than make everything an offering for ourselves, right? But right, this is mentioned in that last verse of chapter 5 of Gita, that famous verse, Bhoktadam Yagya Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshram. Bhokta, right? Everyone here, I think, knows the word bhog, right? Bhoga is what we refer to. You know, everyone more or less says we offer prashadam, right? But that's actually incorrect. We offer bhoga. Prashadam is what happens afterward, if we're lucky. But bhoga is the word we use for food that we are going to offer to the Lord. What does that mean? It means that which is to be enjoyed, right? And so then this other word, and then after he accepts that mercifully, then he gives it back to us as his prashad, his grace, right? Everything has such beautiful, profound meaning behind it. So then this word bhokta, that is referring to the enjoyer. Right? So Krishna is the bhokta, bhoktaram. He is the enjoyer of the actual enjoyer of everything. Right? So when we embrace this relationship, that everything is for him, I am also for him. I am also for his pleasure and his enjoyment. Right? And I will also get enjoyment from that. Right? That's another aspect here. Right? I will also get enjoyment from that. My happiness comes from supplying happiness. That is a deeper happiness, actually. So when we can embrace that relationship with Krishna, embrace his position, then he says, we are very near and dear to him. We are very close to him. So going back to the text here. So Arteshva Vigya Swarat. What is the purpose of the movement of this world? The answer is clear, for itself. Reality is for itself. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj liked to quote this line of Hegel, right, the German philosopher, right, if there is an absolute being, it must exist by itself and for itself. By itself means there's no one else in that category. No one else is equal to that supreme status. There's no rival entity that's threatening the position, you know, like Satan idea and so on. Maybe for Leela, there may be some Satan entity for play, but not that the Satan entity is actually a threat, right? Just one example. So that supreme entity must be by itself and must also be for itself. Means he exists for his own purpose, not for any other purpose, for his own sweet will. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj is referencing this here. What is the purpose of the movement of this world? The answer is clear, for itself. Reality is for itself, not to satisfy many, but to satisfy one. All the waves are meant to satisfy that one. And if we can put ourselves on that level, we can understand the truth. Otherwise, we are all cheaters. We are far from the truth and we cannot see that everything, all waves are flowing towards the satisfaction of one, Swayam Bhagavan. Let's see. Just ahead here because we may not have time to go through all of it. This is very nice. We must be relieved of such misunderstanding. Darshan means to see, and how to see, that must be learned. what to see, how to read what is going on in myself and outside. That is proper understanding and proper education. A proper understanding of one's own self and also of the environment is proper education. There's a very nice quote of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, which I like very much. We hear when he visited one university in America one time. He was received there as a special guest of honor, and the professors, administrators are showing him around. Oh, here's the Department of Mathematics, here's the Department of Chemistry, and so on, art, etc. And then at the end, Srila Prabhupada looks at them and he says, where is the department for the soul? Where is the department for the soul? This is the main thing, right? That education, there must be education about that. That is actually the first thing. And there's another very nice expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he says how, generally in this world we're very busy in we're very busy in finding solutions, right? But there's been no diagnosis, right? We're very busy in so many different endeavors, trying to find fulfillment, essentially. But there hasn't been a diagnosis. We're trying so many cures to fill the void, but there hasn't been a diagnosis. What's the actual disease? What's the actual condition? And so from the outset, right, the very first thing is to understand, who am I? What is my true self? Then after that first fundamental understanding, then you proceed with your activity, your forward move. So a proper understanding of one's own self and also the environment is proper education. Education must be big. The standard must be drawn from outside this area of Maya, misunderstanding. It must be drawn from the perfect realm through Veda, revealed truth. We must accept revealed truth and bid farewell to so-called scientific knowledge and other kinds of perceptions, which are all erroneous based on false experience and false information. It belongs to me, it belongs to him, it belongs to them. This calculation is all false. So we have to be relieved. We have to get wholesale relief from this mania, this misconception. And not only must we get relief from the misconception, from misunderstanding the external waves, but we must attain a positive position, right? We're not just trying to become free from the negative side, but he says we must attain a positive position to learn to understand the wave, the vibration of Goloka. Goloka is the most universal, most fundamental plane. And if we can harmonize ourselves with that plane, we will be led to Vrindavan or Navadvip, and there we shall see things as they are. And that's the end of this quote. It says here it's from Heart and Halo of our books. I'm reminded, there's a very nice quote of Srila Govinda Maharaj where he says that wherever we are within our mundane position here in this world, that transcendental world is always waiting for us, right? Whatever we're going through, whatever it is, that divine world is always going on. That divine play of Krishna, it's always going on, right? And it's always waiting for us. It's always there for us, right? And so, we may feel overwhelmed that, my whole version of reality, it's based on untruth right now. My whole experience of reality, it's all based on illusion. Right? That is a very, discouraging contemplation. But we can think, right? Whatever I'm going through here, that higher world is going on, and that is waiting for me, right? That is a gift for each and every one of us, right? That divine play of the sweet absolute, right? The sweet play of the absolute, Sri Krishna. This is our birthright, right? Shrinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha, right? This beautiful expression from the Veda. You are all children of nectar, right? So rise up, seek after that, right? And then this is why, right? Harikatha is so important, because otherwise, if we're just like focusing on, oh my God, what am I doing? You know, what am I thinking about? What am I absorbed in? If we're focusing on that, it's very depressing. But this is where, like, tuning into Harikatha, tuning into hear about the Lord's Leela, the Leela of Mahaprabhu, the Leela of Krishna, the Leela of our gurus also. They're living a completely different experience of reality. You know, whenever I read Chaitanya Charitamrita, I feel like there's this huge shift in perspective that takes place, right? That and then before reading, I'll be like, got my blinkers on. Oh, I've got this on my plate and that on my plate. This is happening, that's happening. Oh, and I'm struggling with this and whatever it is, right? Then you hear Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's like you suddenly done a Google Earth on your life. You've just zoomed way out and you're seeing the actual nature of things. You're hearing about reality, the beautiful. You're hearing about the real show, right? You're hearing about the real field of action and what's really going on in the eternal world and how sweet and beautiful and charming and attractive it is, right? And so there's this wonderful positive element, right, of increasing that spirit of natural attraction, that hankering. This is a word our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj used a lot, hankering. And there's a nice quote, and it's published in Divine Guidance, where he's saying that, it is, of course, we are all trying to do some practical service. That's an important part of our life. We're trying to, when we get the opportunity, render some practical service. And he says, but that is not the cause of the hankering that is necessary to enter Vrindavan Dham. And he says, for that type of hankering, that hunger, that taste, lolium, right? We also hear that word lolium in Upadeshamrita, hunger. For that to be awakened within us, he says, we need to hear about the Lord's Leela, right? Shravanam, hearing. This is actually the first in the 9 practices of devotion. Shravanam, this is the first thing that is mentioned. And so this is a very wonderful aspect of our devotional life, that yes, there is the element of struggle and so on, but there's this sweet aspect of the privilege to hear about the Lord's Leela, to hear the message of our gurus, to hear their version of reality, their sweet, harmonized, beautiful version of reality, because that is going on, right? It's not like a matrix situation, where it's reality the ugly, right? And we've all taken the wrong pill, whatever it is. I always forget, the red or the blue pill. But it's like, oh, this is the actual reality that's going on. It's actually really dark and horrible, and you're all just under illusion. It's actually like, yeah, they got something right. We're living under illusion, but it's actually the opposite. That the real reality is so attractive and beautiful. It's the search for Sri Krishna reality, the beautiful. But the problem is that for us to see that beauty, to connect with that beauty, we have to go through some unlearning and relearning, right? Because now we have that disease of jaundice. We're tasting sweet as bitter, right? We're not tasting, when we are chanting, we're not tasting the sweetness that is actually there. So we're going through some process of purification, rehabilitation, and all these things. Okay. Oh, Angel's here. Great to have you, Angel. She said I lost it now. She explains there which pill is which. Thank you, Angel. So there's so much hope, actually, that was something our Gurudev used to say too, right? That we're always moving between hope and hopelessness, hopefulness and hopelessness. And hopefulness comes when we align ourselves with the divine world. And hopelessness comes when we connect with the material energy in the material plane, right? So we're always trying to tune in, we're always trying to connect with that higher wave, that higher vision, that higher flow, that higher vibration, all these things. And that can be simply through opening one of our books, you know, listening to a talk, speaking to a Vaishnava, and everything can be sweetly adjusted. So there's so much hope for all of us, right? We are in this in-between place, right? Living within one world, but we are aspiring for a higher world. So it is not an easy thing. It is not an easy thing. And I like very much this verse I came across once in Srimad Bhagavatam, saying that two kinds of people are happy: the enlightened souls and the ignorant souls. They're happy. But everyone in between, they're struggling. So like in English, we say, right, ignorance is bliss, right? Ignorance is bliss. And then true enlightenment, awakenment, that is also bliss. That is real bliss, spiritual bliss, right? But it's that in between, the transition, right? That challenging transition period that we may go through for many lifetimes. That's the difficult phase. Difficult phase. So, but we're so privileged actually just to be able to hear about these things. Sometimes I think, you know, like, in how many millions or billions of years, right? And especially if we consider, you know, what we're receiving in this age, right? This is particularly, we hear a rare age when Mahaprabhu, Swayam Bhagavan, original form of the Lord, not a Vishnu avatar, but the original form of Mahaprabhu and Krishna, they are coming in this age. And the level of Harikatha, you think about how profound and sweet the teachings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj are. It is not in every yuga, not in every chatur yuga, and how many millions of years is this level of truth being revealed to the world. It is not a common thing. It is a very rare thing, actually, just to be exposed to this type of vibration. And think about it, you know, that wave, we're still a part of that wave. You know, it is only, you know, Srila Govinda Maharaj was here just a few years ago. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, their preaching vibration is still flowing in this world. Our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he mentioned this very nice talk he gave in Russia. He was saying how, you know, by their preaching in this world, by Prabhupada, by Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said they've infused the air with Nitya Sukriti, right? This eternal divine Sukriti, right? Divine fortune. The air in the world has been infused with this. You know, the whole world has been blessed because that vibration of their pure Harikatha, their pure talks on the Lord, it is pervading the whole atmosphere. So anyone on this planet this time, they are blessed, right? As much as they're able to receive it, at least, but it is there. We are all very, very fortunate. We're all very blessed. And I'm very blessed that I'm able to discuss these topics with all of yourselves. You're all keeping me alive. So thank you very much. Well, Shreyash is also tuned in. Great to have you with us, Shreyash. I'm on a phone here. I'm in trouble with internet, so I can't see properly everything. Well, should we close there for today? Does anyone want to bring up any other point before we end? Okay, then we'll end here, and yeah, maybe we can continue. I think maybe we can try for next. Oh, thank you, Shreyash. Happy you're here. Maybe we can continue. And I've also been talking here about doing an Upadeshamrita meeting. So let's see about that. But I think we can plan for next Thursday for sure. We can continue with our weekly Thursday meeting. Okay, we'll end here for today. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, all the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai, Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai, Itai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol. Okay, see you all next time. Have a beautiful week ahead.
Vishakadiri ki jai.